Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, RFK Refugees Podcast. Ted here, John here. We have no producer Brian in the background, so unfortunately, guys, you'll notice that we have taken off the call segment. Unfortunately, we producerless. We dropped the phone lines, so we got the chat. Join the chat. Drop your stuff in the chat. Send your comments in the chat. Tweet, whatever. Smoke signal. We'll even take smoke signals, you know. Ted and John here, coming back from a break, so we might be a little bit rusty. John, how was your international break vacation?
Man, I learned to knit. I mastered the art of motorcycle maintenance. I did a lot of great things. Actually, I don't really know. I think I just kind of did what we normally did, but we got a chance to not be talking about soccer for one weekend. But I'm glad we're back. I'm glad we've got some on the field stuff and much more off the field stuff to talk about, which is really, yes, I think that's our bailiwick. I think if any, it's messy drama off the field. That's sort of where we thrive.
Yep, that's where we gain our most. How we made our name was through drama. Let's be 100% clear of this. Gregory, I'm not Theodore, by the way. I'm just going to go ahead and drop that out there.
Nor am I Jonathan, but Gregory has been a longtime supporter. So if he wants to call us Theodore and Jonathan, you can keep doing that, Gregory. It's fine, no problem. Don't worry about it.
I'll let you guess which actual nickname of Ted I am. That would see, but Jonathan's easy. You know, people say Theodore, and I get a little bit. I'll let you guess, Gregory. It's a guessing game. It's a guessing game. Right. You can probably figure it out. Yeah, I'm probably out there. Google exists. Google exists. Tedward's a good guess, by the way. But let's first I do want to say how I spent my week.
Yeah, man.
I played a wonderful game called Psychonauts 2 basically the entire night.
And tweeted about it.
It is
and you were adding.
It is excellent. Everyone should go play it. No, not right now. Watch the show. Enjoy the show. Listen to the podcast. Keep listening to the podcast. Get all the way at the end. Go play Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2 is incredible. Great game. Totally fun. Best game. It's just nice to play a game that's just a game. It's not like trying to be bigger than it is. It's not trying to be Cyberpunk, which was like, oh, we're going to promise all these things and deliver maybe like half of them, after patches. It's just nice to play a fun game. It has Elijah Wood in it. It has Jack Black apparently makes an appearance in the game too. Lots of fun. Go play it. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk soccer. John's looking at me like, can we please talk soccer?
Let's have more video game hour. I think that's a good idea.
We're on Twitch. We should be talking. We should be talking video games.
I feel like it would be a mistake for me not to draw attention to my very cool jersey that I got as a result of Angus, friend of the show, tipping me to a jersey available in Poland in my size on a website I had never heard of. And then it got here in like a week and a half, and they sent me candy with it too from Poland. So big win there, gotta say. Big W for the motherland of Poland and me. Anyway, back to soccer. DC United.
Back to soccer. DC United. Let's first. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk at least a little bit, at least briefly mention the U.S. national team, in which I say, everybody, calm down, relax. Breathe. 3 games is not an indictment on the U.S. soccer talent pool. It's not an indictment on anything. It was 3 games. Everything's fine. The team did enough. They are in good position to qualify. They're going to qualify for the national team. Andy Nahar looked great, by the way. Andy Nahar blew up both Canada and the United States as well.
His agent is calling DC United and saying, folks, this team option next year is not going to cut it. We need to figure out a way to make me get my agent some cash. So, yeah, he looked great. All I know is myself and every other DC United fan watching was just holding their breath and saying, how do we not? Please don't get hurt. Please do not get hurt.
Every player. Junior Moreno, Edison Flores, Andy Nahar, please don't get hurt. Mm-hmm. And they did. They all, as far as we know, cross your fingers. There's not going to be some weird thing that's going to come out. They all made it back unscathed. So a spot of good luck compared to how other international windows tend to go for us. Albeit Andy Nahar was great. The U.S. men were not so great, but they did enough, and that's okay in World Cup qualifying. The goal is to qualify. I had to actually just physically remove myself from Facebook groups dealing with U.S. soccer. I
I think wise to begin with.
I got out of my U.S. soccer groups, the American Outlaws group. I left. I was just like, you know what? I can't deal with this. I can't deal with this overreaction on three games. And somehow that's an indictment of everything. But anyway, transitioning. Let's talk DC. Let's talk DC coming back. 1-1 draw in New Jersey. A game we saw, I'd say, about 70 to 75% of. I'm going to go ahead and guess.
That's about right. I think someone called it Flow Sports Flashback, but free. They didn't have to pay online to get it, and I think that's at least true.
No, I mean,
you didn't pay an annual fee for it.
I paid for cable with the understanding
wow.
that I would be able to watch the games. Now, again, I'm not one of those people that's going to get mad or get upset. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go ahead and assume that I think our compatriots abroad at DC United UK, James, was dealing with the same thing. So what you have to understand is, and I think both Devin and Dave have kind of brought this up in various interviews about the broadcast, is that they don't have the cameras or like the direct connection. They are literally pulling a feed that MLS produces. Now, I'm not sure whether it's MSG is like producing it, but I'm pretty sure how it works is MLS literally pays a group to go out and film these games. And then the feed is kind of just pulled in by the various networks. So something was down there. MSG looked okay. I think there wasn't any complaints I heard about MSG being down. So it was something with that sort of outside feed that CSN, the other international partners who want to broadcast the game, use to kind of pull in that feed. I'll be very curious to watch a lot of the and we got RFK John subscribing with Prime. Wonder who that is. That's a good name. That's a good name.
That's a hint for all of you who subscribed last month with Prime and want to keep supporting the show. Hit that resubscribe 20% off button. Go down, click. Use your Prime subscription. Really appreciate it. Love the support.
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, so the broadcast issues. Overall, though, I guess some general thoughts about the game. This is an ugly game. Last time DC United played Red Bulls on the home, it was another ugly game. Red Bulls do not like to play this game called soccer. They like to just go balls out. Now let's talk about the first goal. The first goal, obviously Donovan Pines coming back from injury, Paul Arriola coming back from injury. Good to see them. I would say of the two, Donovan Pines looked the more rusty. Let's get into the I'm going to transition a little bit. Let's get into the goal. Donovan Pines receives the ball and just gets kind of bounced off by, I think Yearwood was the guy. Maybe a foul, but I doubt that. I'm not sure.
I wouldn't have called it a foul. I don't think it was shoulder to shoulder. And I mean, if you're muscling Donovan off, then good for you.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was a foul, I don't think you can take that off of VAR. And either way, Donovan Pines has to be stronger. He has to be stronger. He has to be able to hold that up. He has to be able to stand that up. He can't be expected to get the foul because he put his team in a bad position. Now, I think otherwise the defensive stand-up was not good. I think they allowed basically Yearwood to have pretty much a wide-open shot. I think Drew Skundrich, who had, I think, probably of Donovan Pines, I think improved throughout the game. I think he won some accolades. He kind of dusted himself off and really showed some growth through the rest of the game. He was fine the rest of the game. Even I think had some good defensive moments. So I think maybe that mental side of him just needs to continue to develop. But I think the physical attributes are all there for him. And when you look at that goal, you look at the rest of the goal. Not enough, I think, pressure on the ball. This is where I think everybody talks about Andy Nahar's ability to sort of dribble the ball, break pressure. But defensively, he's very, very good at kind of just closing down that space and not really allowing other defenders. You're not going to see that from Tony Alfaro. You're not going to see that from Fred Brilliant too much. Very much Andy Nahar's ability to be kind of a pest out there in defense and really close space and not allow opportunities is something. And because he knows he gets that ball, he's going to go dribble and try to create an opportunity.
Yep, Donovan Pines actually man of the match according to FootMob. So your statement that he got better throughout the match, supported by data. I thought Paul actually looked pretty poor. I think that happens oftentimes after a long layoff. I wish we had seen the goal, and then I think we sort of alluded to it. The match played out sort of like you could assume, unless DC was going to go and throw caution to the wind and maybe score and they go for that win. That was the only way they were going to lose. I think there was just two monsters smashing into each other like over and over again for all of the second half. But I think that we've complained about the naivete of the team earlier in the season to not take those points when they're available on the road. So we can't be upset about it at all. It just was not an aesthetically pleasing match to anybody. I think that's pretty much concluded. The players all, afterwards, all on Instagram and everywhere else, seemed pretty pleased with the result that they got. So take that for what it's worth. They've got 2 games here in the next 7 days. So that's really, I think they were able to. They didn't really rotate that much. I was close to their first choice 11, or was their first choice 11 with injuries accounted for. So
I would maybe have a little bit of a disagreement with that. I would say maybe you see Flores slotted in there, Junior Moreno.
He wasn't available. None of them. I'm talking about for this match. They weren't available.
Right. But
Yeah.
I'm saying you were saying first choice 11. I think there were some players. I think Junior Moreno being out there, potentially being out there if he wasn't. You were saying first choice. I'm saying there were players still missing from.
Yeah, I'm saying from that game, who they had available, they threw their best players.
Okay,
they
fair
weren't
enough.
trying to rest them.
Got you. But yeah, I think what is becoming more and more obvious is, again, we talk about Nani Nahar, how much he means to that team, his ability to sort of break pressure. I thought that was kind of missing. They don't really have another player that can kind of take the ball out of the back and shift it up to midfield and sort of draw players in, which can open up for other opportunities. They're very, very direct, and it was a really ugly game. I will say one thing that kind of struck me about this game is you have 2 teams. You have DC and Rebels that are playing somewhat of a similar style. They all want to press. They don't want to have the ball. They want to press. They want to attack. They want to move direct when they get the ball. They don't want to, pass and move. They don't want to control possession or, play ticky-tacky soccer. But when DC got the ball, they seemed to have a better idea of what they wanted to do. They wanted to feed it. They get it to the middle. They try to maybe look for an outlet pass out to Kamara making a run or to Jordi Reyna making a run, or they look out wide to either Kevin Paredes or Julian Gressel. And Julian Gressel, I thought he was okay, but he still has this ability just to play. He played at least a couple balls in, including the Jordi Reyna miss and a header that Kamara. I think Kamara got a little bit of flack for that. I think the deflection kind of threw that ball a little bit off. I think it caused it to lose some momentum. That I think if it hadn't been sort of deflected, I think it hits Kamara's head and maybe that's a goal. I think the deflection kind of threw that off a little bit.
Not nearly as bad of a miss as the Reyna miss.
Yes,
and even that's the one, the slam dunk. The other one, I think that was a time, like you said, a deflection caused a missed timing for the header, and then what are you gonna do? But overall, I think like SMC Ultra said, they didn't hang on for the point. They were pushing for the wind. Can't complain about the effort. Yeah, I think you can't. I think we're pleased with the point, and I think that we now have opportunities. At least one. We have an opportunity for a win on Wednesday. Atlanta team not really looking as soft as they did maybe earlier in the year before the coaching change. But we're not doing a full preview, but just suffice to say, DC won 2-0 and 1-1 and drew 1-1 against Chicago earlier in the year, and Chicago are 1-3 in their last 4, whereas Atlanta is 3-1 in their last 4. And Gonzalo Pineda was the coach of the week last week, a name you will remember if you are a DC fan, because he was almost our coach. I don't think we can regret the way this turned out. I think good for him, good for Atlanta, good for us. I think Ted, you have an insight on what Hernan's old team is up to lately.
Yeah, Beerschot is bottom of the Belgian league right now. No wins out of 8 now. I think they just lost to St. Truden. I turned on the game because I was flipping through, while at work looking for something in the background. I saw, St. Truden's playing Beerschot. Well, that has some DC connections I wouldn't have thought about, 5 years ago that I'd be watching these games. So yeah, but But fun times. I think Chris Durkin's still out there playing, getting minutes. I'm keep wondering like when someone's going to talk about him. I guess he's just not.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Listen, you play in a backwater in a position that isn't a goal scorer. It's very hard to get recognized, particularly if you're not playing for your national team, and he's not. Ceylon 14, just to close back on this, it made me laugh. It says, how quickly we grow accustomed to wonders. Gressel had more than a few ethereal crosses. It is true.
Yes.
He is he's becoming Bill Hamid in the perspective that we expect him to do well. Mm-hmm. And if he does well, it's not like Julian played really well. It's Julian played how he always plays. Mm-hmm. Bill made a save to win to save points. That's just what Bill does. Yeah. So unfortunate for him, but is the case.
Also, I think Klon 14 says, my thoughts on Drew was that he was very okay. Moses had higher. I think they were discussion in the chat about whether Moses would be a better fit than in that game than Skundritz. I was a little bit hard on Skundritz, I think, during the game. I don't think he was terrible. I think in the first half he was getting overrun a lot in that center of the field, and DC really wasn't able to. They were bypassing that center of the field a lot. I thought you talk about another player who I think we just expect now. We expect Russell Canals to go out there and deliver a lot of high energy, win the ball. I thought he was kind of keeping that Red Bulls team in check and not really allowing them to get much possession. But every time Skundritz got the ball, Red Bulls just kind of collapsed on him, and he really didn't have a good sense of how to get out of that pressure. Not like a player like you would see from maybe Junior Moreno. So I'll be interested to see him back. I sort of like Skundritz. I don't necessarily like him as a spot starter. He's fine, but I really more like him in that higher position, either as a reserve winger, just to kind of bring some energy to the field. I don't necessarily like him in sort of that center of the park type avenue. I wanted to. There were a couple of things I wanted to highlight. Do you blame John? There was some discussion of whether John Kempton deserves blame for the goal. I am not one of those opinion. Maybe he gets caught flat-footed.
The marking was bad.
Yeah.
Donovan Pines getting pushed off the ball was bad. I think of the errors that occurred for that goal to happen, his was the least. Mm-hmm. That's my take anyway.
Yeah.
You agree?
I agree. I'm not really sweating his position, mostly because also I'm crossing my fingers that Bill's going to be back for Wednesday. We'll see. I think maybe you see him get another week of rest. I think maybe the COVID it hit him a little bad, but I mean the good news is that according to Pablo Maurer, 100% of DC United's players are vaccinated, which is very, very good to see in another team, which we'll get into. Unlike Loudon, unlike another team, which we'll talk about here in a minute. I think that is extremely good to see it, and good on the leadership. Good on the leadership for pushing that, or maybe it was the players doing it themselves. Either way, it's very, very good to see that players stepped up, got vaccinated. Got themselves into a position where they could continue to be successful. And the fact that we had, one player catch COVID in Bill Hamid, and then we've had 0 positive cases since, I think speaks a lot to how important it is to get vaccinated, because you can eliminate those things.
Yep.
But I'm trying to think. I feel like there was a couple other things I did want to sort of touch on the game. I thought the second half was obviously a lot better. Obviously, and I remember what I wanted to do. I wanted to get back to what you said. When people were saying, did they really press the game? They pressed the game, but I thought it wasn't old, go press. It was very much a selective press. It was almost like they knew we're going to get, and you could feel it. I could feel in the game like they're gonna get one opportunity here that I think they can to maybe sneak 3 points, and if they don't, it's going to be 1 point. And that opportunity came to itself with the already ran across. I think what we're seeing from this team is a recognition that we are talented enough that when we have enough skill, we have enough idea of what we want to do, that we don't need to be hurried to go out and press the game and to do it on the road when we're in a position that benefits us more than the other team. We can kind of sit back. We can be smart about when we press. And we're going to get an opportunity, and if we bury it, then we're gonna steal 3 points. Really, talk about like the Red Bulls. I mean, they have this whole brand and identity. They bring in this coach. They fired Chris Armas, and they brought in this coach that was supposed to be, we're going to play energy drink soccer. And you look at the way the team's playing. You look at the crowd that was there at Red Bull Arena. When you can make out the Red Bull logo in the center of the field,
Not good.
not good. Not good at all. What like I know we're DC fans. We want to make fun of Red Bull, but I guess I'm a little bit upset because I kind of thought, okay, DC's getting better. Red Bulls are going to be, they're going to have that system. Maybe they can, continue to be at the top of the league. Maybe that's something that can kind of restart this rivalry and really get it going again. Honestly, now I'm thinking like maybe this is going to be a complete reversal. Maybe DC is going to rise, and then and New York's going to fall, and it's going to be a flip flop of what we've seen in the last 10 years. And the rivalry,
Certainly a lack of investment by
Yeah.
Red Bull. They are not trying in that respect. They're not trying to spend money to get fans through the turnstiles with a name that they know and recognize. The Tim Cahill, Thierry Henry, pick a name. Days of Red Bull are over and gone. All the attention from the energy drink headquarters is in Europe now. That's where they're spending their time, their money, their attention. So sucks to be any New York soccer fan right now. On either side, I think both. This is the downside, right? When you attach, MLS is already what it is, right? MLS is not really independently owned clubs where they have that. It's all operators, it's all investors. But when you go a level beyond that, an abstraction beyond MLS as a unit to a conglomerate that has a bunch of teams and cares about your team only so much as they want to have a presence in your market for their other properties, this is what can happen. And it's not great for the league, for certain, to have New York not really try so much on that side, on the make a splash marquee side. DC is DC, right? We're sort of forgotten in many ways, both geographically and then from a national perspective on how we have not been a winner for a long time. But if you're in LA, if you're in New York, if you're in Miami, you can't just like skirt by and just like, well, we're just gonna build a winner by Red Bull 2. That'll be the way we'll do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you can. I feel like soccer's a different. I think you can do those things, but you got to go out and win. You got to play entertaining soccer, and right now they're not doing it. I think if they were better, you would see more fans maybe at that stadium, at least coming out. It wouldn't be as it'd be disappointing maybe, but wouldn't be as embarrassing.
I think in a city like New York, though, where you have infinite levels of other options you can do, even like on the soccer level, but even in every single sport. The U.S. Open was just this last week. Like there's the premier level sport things are happening there, and I don't want to say the Knicks are premier level anything, or the Giants, or the Jets, or the Mets. But certainly there are so many options anywhere you go for a geographically
That's true. Yep.
compact area. LA sort of similar. So that's why to be relevant, MLS has to. That's why they always throw so many bones to LA and New York. It's like, how can we tip the favors in their direction so that we can capture more eyeballs in this major market? And they're not trying right now, so they're not doing it. Anyway, I think there's a lot of Spirit stuff to cover. I want to make sure we get on into all of that.
Yeah. Oh boy.
boy.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could just talk about a game? We could just talk about great. What type of awesome stuff Trinity Rodman was going to do. I feel like it's been forever since the Spirit played, even though it's been like a couple weeks. Like it's I don't know what to say anymore. I really don't. I'm out of things to say. And I'm going to talk for the next 30 minutes.
We're going to talk.
We're talking, but I'm out of like. I'm exhausted by it. It's exhausting. It really is. John, you talk a little. I'll let you start off. I let off the DC conversation. You can lead off the Spirit.
Yeah. So I think you sort of. There are people that are getting tired. People who have supported this team in the Spirit Squadron for years and years are just sort of looking at this saying, I don't know if this is worth my time anymore. This team has become an embarrassment to me, and they're not trying, and they're not listening, and it's not getting better. So let's talk about what's not getting better. Ben Olsen appointed. I think I'm thinking chronologically. I believe Ben Olsen was appointed team president. Titles are sort of squishy at the Spirit because there are a lot of people. It's very similar to DC United previously, where one person would have 7 jobs and they would get promotions and change roles without anybody's really noting. Suffice it to say, he is the man in charge on almost all fronts, on the business side, on the sporting side, all the things. So my first reaction to that was, cool, awesome. I love Ben Olsen. I'm a huge Ben Olsen fan. And if there's a person who knows how to navigate, choppy waters from an ownership perspective or a lack of investment perspective, it's him. It's great. And then he spoke to the offside, or not the offside. Wow, that was not right. The Athletic. He spoke to the Athletic. Yeah. He didn't speak to the blog that I wrote for in 2005. That would be cool, but he didn't. He gave an interview and I've listened to now a couple podcasts talking about the interview. And if you haven't read it yet, I advise you to read it. Ben sort of confirmed the suspicion from a lot of folks that this is a Steve hire, the Steve guy. The reporting on the hire was that Michelle Kang was not advised of this move, and she's a 35% owner, so you would assume that she would be, or 30% owner, and she was not. So that's a bad first step. And the obvious questions were asked, sort of like, how do you negotiate being appointed or hired by an owner that is being investigated, that is accusing his co-owner of like basically tampering? They filed a league complaint on Michelle Kang for harassment, I believe was the language. How do you deal with that? And he's basically just like, that's just noise. He was being Ben Olsen, DC United soccer coach or manager, where you go into the siege mentality and you just say, we're going to focus on what's in front of us, and everything outside is noise, and we're going to just do our thing. Problem is, being a team president and being a public face, which you are extremely hired to be at this point. You are a public face. You are a human shield for Steve Baldwin. You understand that when you take this job. The noise is what matters. The noise matters just as much as getting things right on the field, and you can't dismiss it all. You have to embrace it and fix it. He talked about listening to players. He wanted to talk to the senior players. He talked about listening to the fans to get an understanding. He was sort of cold and calculating about that, saying like, listen, some of the things the fans have grievances of are reasonable and need to be addressed. Some of them maybe not. And I think that's true of anything, right? I think that's sort of the way that goes. Is if you're a fan, you want all of your concerns to be heard and addressed, because that's how this goes. But I think he's being directly honest from that respect. He's like, that is, we're not going to change everything that we want to do just because there are some fans that are very against it. So points for honesty, but I think from a PR perspective and a charm offensive perspective, I think maybe that kind of honesty was maybe not super necessary from the jump. Maybe a little bit of sugar, based instead of the vinegar to start with.
No, yeah, I am more mad. I guess I'm more mad at Steve over this move than Ben, obviously, because it is painfully obvious what is happening here. This is a move that is designed to distract. It's designed to kind of throw Ben out there.
Designed to make me tweet, "Oh, sweet Ben,
yeah,
excellent."
Yeah, it's designed to do all those things, and it's also designed, I think, in a way. People were speculating. Is this a way to get Spirit get more like DC United fans into the Spirit? And I said, well, I think actually what this is designed to do is Steve is relying on the fact that a lot of people who follow the Spirit, and it's not all, I'm not going to say if you're a Spirit fan you're a DC fan, but there's definitely some overlap there. I think this is designed as, hey, see, we're going to give you a legend from DC who's going to come here, and you can't be critical of him. How can you be mad at Ben? That is kind of what this feels like a little bit, an attempt. But there are some good points raised. It's another good old boy network. He has it's another person you're bringing in. Now, I would say if he was brought in as a coach, he's very much more qualified than Richie Burke. Let's be clear. He actually has professional coaching experience. Mm-hmm. But he has no experience on the women's side of the game. None. And he admits that in the article. He's like, I don't have much, but I'm bringing all these things. I think he would have been best to not say, maybe not mention that, but to highlight his connection to the DC area.
He did too, but I think he was too honest about I'm learning on the job.
Yeah, it definitely. And, this is honestly not surprising for Ben. I don't, even throughout his tenure at DC, I think maybe I'm not sure how well he was reading maybe he was aware of some of it, but I'm not sure he was really understanding of what's going on. And now he's kind of in it. And I think he took this as an opportunity because he wants to stay in DC. He loves to be in DC. And this gives him a sort of next step that he can sort of go for the next few years. Now, the question becomes, what happens when there has to be a resolution? There's going to be a resolution to this Steve Baldwin, Michelle Kang, one way or another. My biggest fear is that the team says, you know what, Michelle, why don't you go join this ownership group somewhere else and let's just leave this alone. That's my biggest fear, because I want Michelle Kang, to own this team. I want her to run this team, especially after what happened. And we'll get into the next part about this, but to sort of wrap up my thoughts on Ben, I think he's being thrust into a situation that I'm not sure he has to know now, but I'm not sure he was 100%, ready for what was going to happen. And now he's in there, and the bad blood has not stopped, and things have arguably just gotten worse. And I feel like this also maybe was in preparation, because now it's not Steve Baldwin talking about the Spirits COVID things. It's Ben Olsen talking. Mm-hmm. Steve Baldwin's now no longer the front PR person. So there's a lot about this that, as much as I like Ben, there's a lot about this that I just don't like. And it just reeks of it smells bad. It just smells bad. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think it gets better from here for him. I think that this was, I don't want to speculate sort of like what the thinking was. I think getting him out as soon as possible was the point. I think in the future, I think maybe he'll be a little bit more prepared for where not to go. He is not prepared. He was not prepared for NWSL Twitter.
Yeah,
he wasn't. That is a minefield on top of a volcano, and he was not prepared for that, and he got eaten alive, and now he's a little bit more behind the 8 ball than he was to even started. So that is not the most important thing that happened in the last 2 weeks. Beyond that, the Portland game, this previous Sunday, the Sunday before our last episode, I believe, right?
Yes.
No. Yes. No game. We thought there'd be a game. I know that Doug from Rose City flew out to Portland for the game. I know the other fans did as well. We got news very, very close to game time. I think it was noon for a 5 o'clock kick that the game was postponed, not canceled, not forfeited at that point, postponed due to a COVID outbreak among DC United among Washington Spirit players. Why is that notable? Well, for a couple of reasons. It comes out after the fact that 8 or 9 players tested positive. That seems like a lot of players. Then we find out that the team is only about 70% vaccinated. That's not a lot of players vaccinated on the team. Then we find out, and this is where reporting gets a little bit hazy, is that the equalizer, Jeff Kassouf, I think I'm saying his name right. I apologize if I'm not. Is saying the team did not wait to get their PCR testing back for the game before they flew to Portland, and they got the results as they were there. That's a big mistake. If that is what happened, Jason Anderson from Black and Red had different sources that said that was not the case. But that foreshadows our next problem. So that was Sunday, and then we said, all right, well, that's fine. We'll get back to action. We're going to play the Reign at home. Need to get points. Portland was going to be a tough game anyway. It's going to be rescheduled. That's fine. OL Reign's hot. And then that game.
Well, you kind of left out. So throughout all of this, you left out there was a random. I can't even remember the guy's name. Honestly, I think he works for 106.7 The Fan. He's a radio broadcaster.
Chris Russell.
Never find me another tweet where Chris Russell talks about the Washington Spirit.
Very suspicious beat writer access there on that, I would say.
Apparently has a well-known relationship with the owner, Steve Baldwin. Sends out a tweet. I think he was the first one to break about the outbreak. Was that right? or he broke the story about the complaint, and then there was the story where he apparently says that he was saying, according to sources, that this was all part of there was a dinner party thrown at the players' houses. I'm not going to say what he says in the tweet because the insinuation of the tweet is rather on the racist side towards Michelle Kang, almost blaming Michelle Kang for the outbreak.
Wasn't it a virtual event also? Like they were doing this in their own apartments?
Yeah, I don't know.
It didn't make a lot of sense.
It didn't make a lot of sense. And then to drop that, during a pandemic, considering Michelle Kang is Asian, to say, I'm gonna say he said it was a dumpling party. Incredibly insensitive,
which is just ridiculous on a couple different fronts.
Just unbelievable. That to me was the most just the moment I'm just like, what is going on here? And then I thought this has to be bottom, right? This has to be bottom. Like this is rock bottom for the Spirit. We have owners sniping at each other through unknown parts of the media, posting, giving out sources, posting very racially charged things towards other owners. Mm-hmm. What's next? I mean, there can't be anything else, right?
No, yeah, nothing else.
Cue Sunday.
So Sunday, we find out, in fact, another game is not going to be played, but this time we're taking a 3-0 defeat to the Reign, and it is not because of new outbreaks or anything else. It is that the league is basically throwing the hammer down for a violation of protocols by the team. So we don't know what that is yet. Still, no radio silence from the organization, at least publicly. All we can do is speculate. It appears that the Equalizer's reporting says that it was about the fact that they did not follow protocols for testing before they got on a plane. So that's why they got the hammer thrown on them, and reasonably so. If that's what they did, they deserved to take the forfeit this week. They deserve to take the forfeit in the Portland game as well.
Yes.
I don't know what's going to happen with that yet, but it is rapidly spiraling out of control. The frequency of issues with this team now are there's too many. You can barely keep up with them. I forgot about the Chris Russell thing.
Yes.
Because so much has happened in the last week since we've done a podcast. It has to be reaching a breaking point. I think that the challenge here is the commissioner is not Lisa Barrett does not have a she's not Roger Goodell, right? Mm-hmm. I don't believe she has the universal banhammer authority to just be like, I have made decisions about this. We are changing this ownership group. We've not reached Deloy Hansen levels of full ownership, league-wide ownership collusion about getting a guy out. I think that having multiple games canceled over 2 weeks might be the thing that gets the rest of the league like, all right, you're messing with our money now. Like your problems are now. If I'm Merritt Paulson, your screwing around has cost me money here in Portland. This game was going to be our most attended game, and now it's not going to happen. So I want the points, and then I want this stuff to stop because it's making the league look bad. So I feel like we're still waiting for the for the first shoe to drop. We're still waiting for the investigation into the firing or departure of Richie Burke and the hiring and all those things to come out. That's not out yet. So the bad news is not done. The PR nightmare for the Spirit is not over yet.
It's not over, and it did almost. I'm not going to say we learned some new little nuggets. If you had the chance to check out Unfiltered with Kaiya McCullough, who was a player for the Spirit, did not make an appearance but came onto the show and really just basically went unfiltered and told about her experience with the Spirit, and it is well worth a listen. Go listen to it. It is not. There is obviously Spirit drama. She is very respectful of players. She does not mention any players, but she talked a lot about the very toxic atmosphere. She talked about the coach that was fired for inappropriate remarks that were made towards players and kind of how things were handled there and how he was sort of protected. and how Richie Burke really treated the players, threatening them, was saying he was going to put them on waivers if they didn't play well. The way he sort of divided between the top 11 and everybody else, and how he protected I'm going to go ahead and assume players like Ashley Sanchez, players like Ashley Hatch, the top players were protected, and then your sort of second string players were sort of the receivers of abuse. She even referred to, and I'm trying to remember, she talked about an incident in the Challenge Cup where a player was not having a good game. And I feel like I know who that player was that would just first appearance did not look well in that game. And the way the players were kind of tensed up in the stands and we're not going to. Anyway, go listen to it. It's well worth a listen. There's a lot of Spirit stuff in there, and there's a lot of stuff that I would not be surprised if this is what we're seeing across the entire league. And I think it really shows how unqualified Richie Burke was to be hired. How the NWSL really needs to start thinking. That there was an interesting thing when she said, basically what you're doing is you're putting sort of you're creating a gender imbalance in that you're putting a man in power of female players and their livelihoods and giving him that power, and he is abusing that power and being relentlessly abusive with that power. And she made a point. She said, I've played under tough coaches. I played at UCLA, very tough program. This was another level. And she was very much trying to get that point across. And I thought she did an excellent job doing it. So go listen to it. It's well worth a listen. Have you had a chance to listen to it, John? Or you?
About 15 minutes of it. I didn't get a chance to finish it all. But
yeah.
I will go back and do so.
I had to drive 20 minutes from a soccer field, so I was like, all right, put this on and just listen to it. So it's certainly worth listening.
That podcast is called Unfiltered, right? By Kaiya McCullough. We'll put a link to it in the show note. Why not? We'll put it in the show notes to this episode so you can find it. We have some people asking about it, so check that out. If she didn't go on the record, I don't think any of this would have happened. Mm-hmm. And I think better for all that she did. Just to sort of wrap up the Spirit stuff, I'm glad that I'm just sort of covering the team, and I'm not a long-suffering fan of the franchise. This would be a very, very depressing month for me as a Spirit fan, and would definitely make me question my recommitting to this franchise going forward. There is a lack of communication, transparency, and even the transparency that we've had from the Ben Olsen interview was the wrong kind of transparency. They've got to figure something out pretty soon, or they may not lose their big purchasers of tickets, right? The sweet owners may not be affected by some of this stuff, and the season ticket base overall maybe will not be affected. But I think teams realize when you hollow out your base of most committed supporters, it hurts you. Even if it doesn't hurt your pocketbook, it hurts you in every other way. And they had a PR misstep with the sign, with the Sell the Team Steve sign, and their reaction to it. And I think they knew it that day that they made a mistake. They've got to have some wins here, not just on the field, but they've got to have some. I think it will hopefully begin with. I don't think it'll begin with a change in ownership. I think that's likely to take a little bit of while now, but I think it will start with the releasing of the findings from the report, and they will be damning, and it will matter very much how they react to it, what definitive steps they take, and then what steps they put in place so that this stuff doesn't happen again. What do your hiring processes look like going forward for this new coach? What are the HR knew what was going on, and this was like a third strike for Richie supposedly. What are you going to do to improve that? It's a whole mess. I want them to. The bummer is that this season on the field looked like it was going to be really promising at the start. They have tailed off, even before they are likely to probably lose 6 points in the standings and not play games. But they have tailed off on the field, and I cannot imagine. All right, I can't imagine that this hasn't taken a toll on their mentality, on their cohesiveness, on their ability and desire to go out there and lay it all on the line for this team. So it's a disaster all across the board for Spirit fans, for the club, for the results for the season. I would not be surprised to see them sort of flag out of this playoffs picture. And until they get it straight, and it's going to take a while. Good luck for them to sort of attract players. The dirty laundry is now out there. It's visible to anybody that was coming in before. Before, some of it was kind of a, I don't want to say like a little, not a secret, but like wasn't really known, wasn't really widely available. And now it is. So good luck. Good luck bringing in the top players from Europe that you want to bring in. And also, SMC Ultra talked about Plex Weather's last 2 podcasts. Jason has done a great job. Molly Hensley was one of the episodes, and Steph Yang, I think, from The Athletic was the other one. I listened to them both in the last day. Very, very good. I advise you to check those out. Yeah, sorry, you can't. I think you can't post links to other podcasts in our Twitch chat, SMC Ultra. I think it's like some sort of Twitch rules. Not really. Yeah, but
we can. I just posted a link to the Unfiltered. I can go grab. Spam proof. I can go grab the Plex Weather show. As I fix my camera there, which is.
Doug says, what kills me is that there's amazing players and good people here also whose careers are being stifled badly by this. Doug, I think you're right, and I think those players that have the ability to put pressure on the league to move them, potentially allocated players, U.S. players that are young stars, potentially that would love to relocate to Los Angeles, for instance, and I don't even want to think about the possibility of that. But an Ashley Sanchez that maybe wants to go and ply her trade in the sunny state where there's not as much cold or heat, or cold in the winter and extreme heat in the summer. I would want to get out of here unless things drastically turned around very, very quickly. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. And, you look at this team and this should have been the year where we have been talking. And beginning of the year, we were talking about how great Ashley Sanchez looked, how great Trinity Rodman looked, how bright the future looked for this team. And even with those players, do they even want to stay here? I think right now, Trinity, Ashley Sanchez signed a new contract, so she's conceivably here. But as soon as, maybe the U.S. national team comes calling, who knows? Maybe she wants to get out of the year. I don't know. Maybe she regrets signing that contract.
And Ashley signed that after. So that was in the works at the beginning of the year, and she waited until recently. So maybe we're wrong about, it's stifling some of the players, but maybe we're wrong about what some players are willing to deal with as far as we'll see. We've had no player availability. We've had no coach availability since the post game. You get post game stuff, but no midweek availability. And obviously the players are being kept very close. And there's obviously an investigation going on, so they can't say much. But it will be interesting when finally the restrictions are taken off and these players, if they ever can sort of really speak their mind about what things have gone on, how they felt about it, and then what they want to see in the future. A players' union, once it gets fully constituted with the CBA, will be key to having those players' voices really be respected and heard in a way that they are not right now.
Yeah, and you have to hope. I do wonder, you hear all of this, and it looks like, so you have an HR department within the team. In other leagues, you look at what happened with Atlanta and how they were denied water, and they had a avenue. They filed a grievance with the league, so it was almost a way to go above the team, and it seems rather clear to me that process doesn't exist in the NWSL, or at least it's not well known that the players had an avenue to file a grievance, against Richie Burke, against the assistant coach, to make sure that something is registered publicly and he doesn't just get to be protected like that. That coach went on to be hired at Nova FC, which was going to be a W League team. And basically they announced him as the coach, and then had to very much backtrack and let him go and put out a statement. So, those are the types of things that, when you protect people like that, they tend to then get jobs in the future. And we're seeing it also as well with what's happened with the other hire at the Spirit as well. So I forget the guy's name, but the other one for the coach from North Carolina. So
Anson Dorrance.
Yes, Dorrance. So and you look at and then you all. I almost want to. We talked a lot about the players. What do we make of the unvaccinated? I want to briefly. What do we make of the players not being vaccinated? How do we reconcile that?
I mean, they aren't in the NFL. They aren't in Major League Baseball if they don't want to. They aren't in. Although maybe now with Joe Biden's announcement on last one.
Yeah, I thought about that. I really thought about that. I was like, wait a minute. So now it's 100 employees. Like, is sports exempted in that role? But
I doubt that they are.
And do the Spirit have 100 employees? Is the next question.
I think it would be probably NW. I think since it's single
Fair.
entity operator, it'll probably just be the end. So I think probably that might be that. What do I think about it? I mean. That is such it's a challenging question to answer without getting into a much broader conversation. But I feel like I think Steph said it on the podcast with Jason this week, is that there's only so much you can do, and studies have shown public health people and doctors have said that going after someone for not getting vaccinated and calling them stupid, calling them selfish, calling them all these things will almost guarantee you that they will not get the shot at this point. The only thing you can do is come in a position of care and talk about how you care about the person. Here's why you want this to get done. Here's why it's important that you do this so that we can, as a group, go together and be safer and go and do the things we want to do to succeed. That's the only way it's going to get done. People attacked Ben's answer about that. All that he can do is give them information. That's all he can do.
Yeah.
Because there is no compulsion from the league to make that happen. The bully pulpit is not going to make those people get vaccinated. If they have not done it by now, they've heard every argument in the book telling them that they're dumb to not do it. The only way you can do it is the way that I talked about before. So that's all I'd say about it.
Or an actual mandate from the government if you're employees of a certain size.
Sure, we'll see about that, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the only other way you can do it. There have been a few social media tweets where people are like, I didn't want to get the vaccine, but now I'm going to lose my job and I can't afford to do that. And they go and get the vaccine. Not that I think, unfortunately, I don't believe in the idea that necessarily should be held over people, that, their livelihood and their ability to live being tied to their job. That's something that's pretty terrible what we see in this country. But that is becoming almost it's almost becoming it's time now. Look, it's time. This is becoming a huge issue. I think the thinking was in the summer, everybody gets vaccinated, and if enough people do it, then it reduces the transmission, and then it doesn't matter how many people don't at that point because transmission is gone. Now they're finding that it doesn't stop transmission; it's still out there. So I think that's changing the focus of what we need to do to get people vaccinated. So,
and there's some people in the comments here that are talking about the fact that CVS is their sponsor, so it makes it even more glaring. The league, the team, and I got this from Plexweather again. The team had a public availability to them to get their shots via CVS after practice. They didn't even have to leave the field. They finished practice, and before they go to their car, they would have got the shot, and then they would have had the next day off. So if they had any symptoms from or any side effects, they wouldn't even have to worry about it. Some players still chose not to do it. You can only lead a horse to water situation here until they're compelled. That's all you can do. It's unfortunate. It hurt their team here. I think also it looks like team administrators also kind of hurt their team here by not maybe following the right protocols. So it was a failure up and down, really.
I do wonder if this will hopefully, seeing the repercussions, might be like the team might be like, I could see honestly, and maybe that's what it takes, and maybe some star players go. If the team comes in and says, "Look, either you get the shots, or we're gonna look for a trade, or that's it." I don't know. Maybe that's the only way to do it. And again, I don't want to use fear, and I don't want to say that. I think I agree with you. You need to come at it. But again, it's also we've seen players in MLS get traded, get moved. Yep. We've seen look at for Toronto FC, Nick DeLeon. I don't think he's making many appearances for Toronto. I'm not even sure. At least I haven't watched too many Toronto games. They're pretty bad, but he's having issues being able to travel, and he refused to get the vaccine. And so that's the real world consequence of this, because if you have an outbreak, it hurts your team, and it hurt the Spirit here badly. They are the only team, I think, in the COVID era to forfeit a game in the United States because of a COVID outbreak.
They won't be the only one. I think we might see that more. The NFL season is going to be interesting to watch. It's mentioned here in the comments that those leagues are being much more punitive for both teams and players who choose not to do it. I think there is a lot more challenges with the NWSL, both from a lack of collective bargaining agreement and also just sort of, I mean, the NWSL league office staff. There's like 5 people that work for the league, like 5 or 7. So like administration stuff like this is just very hard for them to get together quickly. I'm wondering. I mean, not only are they the first team to lose a game or forfeit a game, they're going to probably end up forfeiting twice. I mean, the international break is coming, I guess. So at least there's that. So hopefully they can get their stuff together so they don't have to forfeit any more games. But just a disastrous month for this team. Like, it rivals any bad month that any team has had ever for anything.
And it's now not a question of, is this the bottom? This feels like the bottom, but who knows? I mean, right now, this ownership situation is not resolved. I think that's the only way we finally sort of start to crawl out of this, is when that gets resolved. Because I feel like there's going to be another shoe to drop. We didn't even talk about, by the way, the NWSL expansion draft rules.
Oh yeah,
that came out, where you can only protect 9 players. You have certain positions. That's going to be fun. I can't wait for that to come out. Which players are designated to which position? Is Ashley Sanchez a midfielder or a forward? Where is she going to fall? You know, there's soccer is not a sport. It's not like you have a quarterback, you have a designed position, you have players on the field. I mean, you would have called Annie Nahar a right winger or a wing back. He's been playing center back. So that's how fluid positions are in the NWSL. But just weird rules all around on the expansion draft. And I think it's going to be interesting to see who the team protects, particularly now that we know, what we know. Could a player be like, expose me, I don't want to be here. Like, I want to be out. I
don't know that they could do that.
I actually thought that that Ashley Sanchez might want to go back home. I know she's from the California area, so going back to play at LA, that was my biggest fear until she signed the new contract. It seemed like maybe the team, and also Trinity Rodman, I think, is from that area as well. So that's another thing to watch, I think, for this team coming in the expansion draft. It would absolutely be terrible. We saw this team, after their championship run, which I followed pretty intently, and then watch them collapse, and then to see this happen again, I think would be very disheartening, after you kind of felt like they were setting themselves up to be a team that could really compete in the future. So, I think some people speculate. Are the Spirit going to be here next year? Yeah.
They'll be here. They'll be here. Yeah. They'll be here. This team doesn't have enough. Or this league doesn't have enough franchises to move another one around again. I think it's gonna. I think Steve Baldwin will be pressured to sell his shares. He's not the only one that has problems, right? Bill Lynch is not anybody's favorite owner either, and he has another 30%. This is, it's tough. Compelling someone to make a sale of a thing that they don't want to sell without a crime technically being permitted is very challenging to do. Delroy Hansen is an exception of the rule. What was the guy that owned the Clippers? Donald Sterling. Yep. Yeah. So we need like there needs to be such a public outroar, and I think honestly the thing that hurts the Spirit fans is that the Spirit and NWSL don't register very highly on like national television and like that perspective. Like if the stuff that had happened here in the last month for the Spirit happened. I was gonna say Washington football team, but they have their own problems. But like in a different league, I think that the owners probably would have been pushed out a little bit faster because the coverage would have been relentless, and there would have been no escape, and it would have hurt their bottom line. And right now, I don't think their bottom line is getting affected very much. That's really the only thing that ever causes people to move is money.
Yeah, and I think it's. Yeah, I think the Spirit. I think it's going to be like you said. I think it's going to be all the owners coming together and saying, Steve, you need to move this on. You need to move this product on. And you're hurting our bottom line with how this is being run. this is affecting games. This is affecting our ability to attract owners, ability to attract players by having this type of thing. This league, I will tell you, be watching what the Women's Super League is doing in England. Be watching what's going on in Europe. Be watching the Women's UEFA Champions League. Because right now NWSL can kind of ride on the fact that all the U.S. women's players here, the best players in the world, they're able to sort of attract and bring in players. That's going to change. That's going to change rapidly. I think you're going to have all these clubs like Chelsea, like Manchester United, like that basically, and Manchester United might be a bad example, but all these clubs that are owned by very rich owners, and they don't care how much money they lose. They will spend the money. I mean, to them, even the money they're losing is not that much compared to what they have to gain from it, and the long run for sort of putting on a product that's successful. And that's something to keep in mind as NWSL is standing on up because of the women's national team and how successful they have been. And if that ever wanes, then you are going to see a mass exodus if they don't get their
not
act
even
together.
Just the big teams, man. Yep. There are other teams in the second tier that are still going to pay more than the NWSL is if you're not on a national team contract. So be afraid of a lot of different teams. I think that they, particularly as soon as you're contractually free to move. And players don't sign long-term deals if you can avoid it. if you can figure out a way to not to do it, that's a threat for this league. I mean,
the biggest thing right now is that the U.S. women's players are contracted. Even though I think there's some weird. It's not like they used to be. They had to play in NWSL. Now that's a little bit different. And I think they still have the advantage that while some players sure want to go to England, like Tobin Heath, like Crystal Dunn, like Alex Morgan, to experience that, they still very much want to be at home, and they want to be, in front of their friends and family. They want to be playing.
Right. I asked Ashley Sanchez about it. Did she want to go? And she doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
I think a couple other players I've asked sort of that, and there's not a big desire. It's not the same, right? It's not whereas if you ask any player on DC United, what do you want to be? They want to go to Europe, without fail, 100%, no matter who they are. It's not the case so far on the Spirit. So that's another interesting wrinkle when we look at freedom of movement and stuff like that.
All right, I think that's going to do it. I think we've digested enough. Thank you all so much.
We had a week of not talking this much. I'm tired.
Yep, and now we're going to get back into it. We got a lot of DC action, hopefully positive DC action to talk about. We'll let you guys know we're talking about doing a post game to be fully back into that mode. Obviously, we're going to have our shows on Monday. Check us out. Join us on Patreon. Subscribe. Join us on Twitch with your free Prime scholarship. And we'll catch you guys whenever we come back to do this crazy thing we do.
No later than next Monday. Hopefully before that.
All right, vamos.